And welcome back to a brand new Hearts of Iron 4 Dev Diary. So this is talking about the 1.7 update to technical Boogaloo. Okay, Paradox, I see what you did there. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about this update that's going to be apparently out available for beta sometime today on May 22nd. So kind of excited to try that out. Alright, so basically there's some information here first off about the 64-bit swap that they're planning on doing. So in this very first paragraph here, they explain 1.6.2 will be the last 32-bit build of Hearts of Iron 4, and we will be leaving it and older as normal on Steam for all those who still want access to it. So what they mean pretty much when they say this is that if people still have 32-bit systems for whatever reason, and you're not able to actually use the 64-bit yet for some odd reason, and you just don't have the time or the money to upgrade your PC system or anything along those lines, you're still going to be able to go into the beta tabs on Steam, and there will be the 1.6.2 version on there, so you can always revert your game back to that stage so you can still play on your 32-bit system and still have access to Hearts of Iron 4. So this is actually really good news. They also at the end here actually explain we will also not be converting any of the old versions to 64-bits. So in my opinion, this is some really welcome news for a lot of people out there, because I was getting some messages from people who did have 32-bit systems. Pretty much down here they just talk about why they're upgrading, talking about different reasons on, Macs are phasing out 32-bit aggressively, that kind of stuff. That's all the rest of this little paragraph mentions. Now, here's something I found really interesting, though, and I thought swapping to 64 would actually be a huge boost to the improvement, but apparently not. What they say here in this second paragraph, we haven't seen any big performance improvements, for example, although I wouldn't say it's impossible. Some areas might improve as our investigations have been pretty shallow, so I'm really kind of interested to try it out and see. That's really weird to me that if they swapped to 64-bit, there would still be lag issues in the game, since the system would be twice as fast. So I'm not really entirely sure what would be going on with that, but maybe with the beta, a lot of people will be realizing that, hey, it is faster late game. Maybe Paradox doesn't try it out till they get into 1945 or 1948 or something like that. Who knows? Hopefully what I think this might fix, though, is there's a weird bug in the game when you get into the late war where all the division templates, you can't really see how many divisions are there anymore, no matter if you have max decryption or encryption, decryption, and the enemy has absolutely nothing. You still can't see what templates they have once like 1941 to 2 rolls around. So hopefully them swapping over to the 64-bit might patch something like that, but then they talk about it's a little bit tricky. On one hand, get access to more optimized code, CPU registers and stuff. It takes up a lot of memory. Memory is often highly impactful on speed too. We see it as an investment into the future where we know we can start taking advantage of some things now that the foundation is in and make it easier for us to work. So fingers crossed that this is actually going to speed things up and maybe fix a lot of bugs. Now, probably the biggest two differences in here other than the 64-bit information is they're swapping some naval stuff around and trying to balance it out with convoys and naval battles and things. So if we go ahead down here, it actually explains that the old convoy or the old code system keeping track of your favorite little boats, I'm going to be honest, I could not understand this very much. I mean, it's just talking about the way the old system worked and talking about convoys bugging out, and they even mention here, it was a nightmare. So anyway, so this really big paragraph right here is something very important. It says, this new system, or the new system is centralized, my bad, I am very tired today. The new system is a centralized system where each country has one instance of a class that has full ownership and control of convoys. Any other gameplay code that needs convoys can request them from the system, but never have real control over them. This magically fixes bugs with convoys disappearing from the game. It is not possible to write code like that anymore. It's stability by design, along with other great and exciting stability changes that we are bringing to you with this patch. So that's a little bit interesting that they're patching that little bit of bugs. But there's some bonuses to subs and carriers and all this kind of stuff that they're actually doing in here, which is probably going to phase out a lot of the metas out there where people spam light cruisers. So first off, subs can now fire while withdrawing. Personally, I think that's going to beef subs up even more, but they also do mention down here that convoy escort missions were too binary. Either you have protected the convoys in time or not. Arriving on time provided too much advantage for the escort and thus made sub raiding less viable. Subs will now get an extra volley or two in most combats, making raiding with high quality subs against low quality escorts more viable. So that's interesting right there. They're kind of making it a little bit beefed up for subs, I guess you could say, where they can fire when they're retreating. They're actually going to be better against low quality escorts with depth charges, it seems, and stuff along those lines. So it's going to be a little bit interesting here to see how this is going to work. But we also we increased submarine detection chance from passive detection and lower detection chance from firing torpedoes. So again, something else to beef up submarines. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. We gave carriers passive sub detection and gave them a detection increase in doctrines, making more viable in historic roles in the Atlantic, which carriers did do sometimes. They were sending out planes to look for submarines. Now, that's interesting a little bit there with that whole thing, because that means people might have to make carriers and stuff and throw them in with like naval fleets and, you know, task force and things and actually try to find ships. I didn't highlight this, but this is interesting too. We also increased detection values on some later radar and a bit on sonar, making detecting subs a bit easier. So it's going to be a little bit easier to find the submarines, but a little bit harder to kill them, say for example in an actual battle. So this is going to be quite interesting to see how this sums up. Maybe it will work better for destroyers and give you a reason to actually try to get 1940 variants of them and upgrade them, but who knows, we'll just have to wait and see. Now down here we actually talk about some more stuff regarding convoys that's quite interesting. We also have been looking at various issues related to convoys and how they defend themselves against naval bombers. There were many different problems. First off, unit transports died too easily versing naval bombers. This was extra bad for the AI, which generally suffered more than a player would. In a small naval bomber versus transports as above, we also had way too high casualties for the planes, so that's unfortunate. They're going to change this a little bit. And because convoys are not real units, they would heal up after battle, so unless you sink them there was no real damage to the enemy. So maybe now when convoys get sunk, if the division survived or something, maybe they'll receive some damage, or maybe they'll just totally lose the division. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see how this works out too. Now, down here, to deal with this, we've made several changes. Now, this is where it gets really good for the convoys. Troop transports get special defensive bonuses in a particular... I misread that. Troop transports get a special defensive boost in the particular case of being attacked directly by naval bombers. Down here they explain the anti-air formula for ships shooting back has changed so that partial damage is now taken into account. We now essentially roll a dice for partial damage, allowing it to kill planes. Before, weak ships like convoys that got hit a lot had much too big an impact. So that's a little bit interesting. And early naval bombers didn't really deliver either, so this should be a lot nicer now. So the whole naval battle thing where people would just use and spam out naval bombers and stuff against these whole transport ships, I don't think it's going to work as well anymore because of this whole AA thing, the way they're changing it up. So maybe this will help out some. There's still going to obviously be losses to convoys, but I'm interested to see how this is actually going to be applied inside of multiplayer games more specifically, which is what I mostly play. So down here, they actually talk about probably something that I think is going to stop people from spamming so many screens and actually give a reason to make battleships and carriers and all that kind of stuff again. Because right now there's a meta in a lot of multiplayer servers where pretty much Japan, USA, Germany, Italy, pretty much all those players will just spam out the lowest level destroyer, which is Destroyer 1s, with a single gun battery on it. And apparently they're so cheap, you can produce so many of them, that they overwhelm any enemy fleet that they go up against that has less than like half of their ships, and they would just lose all their screens instantly. And then pretty much the side that had so many screens in the start can just absolutely decimate the enemy fleet with all the torpedoes and stuff in the water. So I think this right here is what they're talking about, where they're changing up some of the ways that capital ships work, and this going to prevent people from doing that or making it work as well. So when it comes to regular combat, we wanted to help out carriers and capital ships a bit, and we felt the more realistic way of doing that was to give them a time at the start of the combat when they are the only ones active. Carriers and aircraft are active straight away. Some ticks later, capital ships and subs get to fire and last the screens. This gives a bit of a boost to the bigger ships and represents their longer range weapons better. So this is going to be really interesting. So in case you didn't understand what this is talking about, they mean that carriers are going to enter the battle first, where planes will start doing damage and so on. Then the capital ships will enter the battle and start doing damage to other ships and things along those lines. And then the cruisers, destroyers, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sorry, wait, where was it? Subs get to fire and last screen. Okay, so yeah, it's capital ships that get in the battle first. And subs? I think. Either way, capital ships are going to go into battle first, and maybe subs, and then screens are going to also join last. So it gives a big boost, it says, to the bigger ships that represents their long-range weapons. So this is going to be really interesting to see. Maybe people are going to find ways to spam enough torpedo bombers and actually use carriers a lot more often to sink enemy capital ships first and use screens to overwhelm them. I'm not really sure, but this is going to be really interesting. Now, here's the information about the whole patch. We've planned to put 1.7 out as an opt-in beta tonight, but we hit some snags. So unfortunately, you know, I misread this. I just got really excited, so that's my bad. So it's not going to be out tonight. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Stay awesome.